So how about that Viren arc, huh?
That was impressive. I was not. I'm not sure what I was expecting. Viren has always been a really fascinating character for me. At first I was a little disappointed that he brought him back. I thought his death scene at the end of last season was so good that I didn't really think there was much they could do to improve on that. But I really liked what they did with him this season, nonetheless. Just having him come back from the dead and wanted to try to repent in a way. I want to try to, have a sort of penance to kind of make up for all the things he's done and try to face justice.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, and it was so much better than what I'd always imagined. Because I always hoped, I figured that he'd save somebody. That's what you usually do with your villains, your Darth Vaders or your Kylo Ren. You have them save the life of one of the main characters as the kind of final act of redemption to kind of score a little bit more morality points with them. But so I always imagined he would either die saving Claudia or maybe even Ezrin. Maybe he would have gone full circle to die for the King of Cthulhu. But instead he dies to save all the people of Cthulhu. That's so much better than what I was thinking. That's so much more powerful. It is so true in his whole concern for humanity.
Exactly.
And it goes great with his sacrificial themes, when he's talking to Harrow about, he's like, would anybody here would lay down their life for you? He's like, would you? And he hesitates, and here he does it for everybody, all the people of Cthulhu. It's just like, it's so good.
Yeah, and at the end he finally does get to fulfill his goals in a way, or fulfill what he started out really wanting to do, really wanting to help humanity and save humanity from the assaults of these rather cruel dragons, and he does, and that's
he talks about he talks about fire raining from the sky in that season 2 episode when he's with the Pentarchy, and that's literally what happens. Fire rains from the sky and he saves them. Dude, that's so good. Man, I love this show so much. Hey, have you seen about them talking about possibly trying to get 3 more seasons made? We seen that on Twitter?
I didn't. I think I saw something a bit like that. I don't know about that. I'm good with the 7 seasons. I think we have a good 6 seasons of the show set up. I think just one more season. It feels great.
It does.
Right. 9 more episodes or so. Just finish everything off. And it feels like we're really building to something here. We're really almost at the conclusion.
Yeah, I agree. I was talking to some people about this on my Discord server, because we were talking about what would you do? You could do a time jump and maybe we'll catch up with the characters now they're all adults, that married, they got kids. So you could do that, but in terms of stakes and stuff, what do you do next? You have a demigod, and he's the villain of this next season, with Erebos. So where do you go from that? Blow up the universe?
Yeah, I really think the stakes and the themes were really solid and really visceral in this season. I think that's one respect in which this season is a definite step from some of the previous seasons of the show. There's a real clear sense of what exactly is at stake, both immediately and practically, and then on a deeper, more thematic and psychological level for these characters. It's much clearer and sharper here than I think it was in the last couple of seasons, and I think that's a big reason why this season has got overall significantly better reviews than the last few.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, the stakes, the drama, the dialogue was so good. The comedy was just gold. The jokes about mushrooms, or the scene where Terry and Vera are like, "You're alive, I'm alive." Oh my god, that killed me. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. It was just motivated by their characters and natural in the moment. This is fantastic stuff. There was something that I wanted to ask you though. What did you think about how Claudia leaves Terry and then he comes back in the next, like, I think it is the next episode, because I think that's the credits. So it's the next episode, she comes right back. What did you think about that? I was curious.
I think I was not particularly impressed by that. And I will say part of it might just be disappointment, since that's a moment that was built up in the trailers. They made a big deal out of that. And then the seems like a conflict brewing between her and Terry, and then it ultimately doesn't really build much of anything.
Yeah, because the scenes that happen after that are so, like, beautiful, like, with him, like, getting her all cleaned up, cutting her hair, giving her the leg. It's all so wonderful. And I was just like, did we have to do the part where she, like, storms off and then just comes back? And then we get can we not just go from her dad leaving and now she's all despondent about things, and then we just, just go right into that? But yeah, I wasn't crazy about it either, because it really hurt me. And it made me, I felt so strongly. I was like, oh my god, poor Terry, oh no, the trauma. It just gets walked back immediately the next episode. I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have cared about that, should I? I felt kind of dumb for caring about it, but yeah, oh my god.
Claudia storyline as a whole, it was interesting how she's very much making a concerted effort to kind of turn away from the dark path that she was on these last few seasons, and then ultimately it doesn't really work for her. She just goes back to Erebos by the end.
It's really interesting to me. Yeah. It mirrors in a lot of ways. It reminds me of Zuko at the end of book 2, whereas you were like, oh yeah, here we go. He's going back to the right side, and then he goes back to the dark. So I think that with that parallel in mind, it is still possible that Claudia might be the linchpin to defeating Erebos. That she might, at the end, flip back to the good side sometime next season. But I don't know. I think it's more satisfying from, like, a narrative point of view if she is the tragic character that went down the dark path and never turned back. We got Thorin, we got Viren. So for the third one, she doesn't go back to the light side, which is sad, but I think would be more dramatic, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not really sure what they're gonna do with Claudia, and in a way that's interesting. Like, it's nice to have that feeling of unpredictability, of the unexpected. But I don't know. I'm just trying to think about what I feel about this Claudia story as a whole this season. I don't think it's quite as good as what they did with Zuko in Book 2 of Avatar, but I don't want to discount it for that either. I mean, Zuko's story is written in many ways like benchmark to which we hold everything else. Also, at least in a lot of these animated shows, it's like blaming a writer for not being Tolstoy or something. Like, I don't want to say that because it's not up to that standard, it's not good. But I just couldn't. I kept comparing them. I kept comparing those stories, and I don't think Claudia is quite as robust overall in this season. I don't know. I just never really. I never really bought that she was like fully going to embrace the good side in a way.
So all of that, you just weren't buying it. Like, when we were doing all the scenes, where she's like, I don't want to do Darth Vader, and you're like, no. I can understand that. I was hoping that she would turn back to the light side, but I figured, I'm like, Erebos has got to get out of that prison somehow, and like, so it's gotta be her somehow. But I thought for sure that Callum was gonna somehow free him from his prison. That he talks about how he's gonna play into his hand, but now I'm thinking Erebos was just bluffing. Maybe he was just making that up. I don't know, just to like psych him out, because it doesn't really feel like he has anything planned for Callum.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that, because I mean, we see Erebos kind of take over Callum, and he has the ability to manipulate his body, but he doesn't really it never really seems like he's tempting and alluring Callum in the same way he did for Viren, or the same way he did for Claudia. We know Erebos is capable of that kind of manipulation, of that kind of rhetoric, but Callum has never really seemed like he's vulnerable to that kind of thing, I suppose. Like, but the worst thing he's done is use some dark magic. But I mean, in terms of, actual, terrible things, or like actually being in such a position that he would be able to be tempted by Erebos, I never really got that feeling.
Yeah, I heard a really great fan theory, and it's pretty much not going to happen now. But the fan theory came out before season 6, and I thought it was really compelling. And the idea was that somehow it was going to end up at the Starscraper, where Callum was going to, in order to free Rayla's parents and Runan, he would somehow also end up having to free Erebos. So he would have to make a conscious choice to either do this thing to save these 3 people and bring back this one bad guy. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. I actually kind of like that. It's the old trolley problem, we save 3 people, and then we get one bad guy, and maybe he'll hurt other people. It's like, but it's hard to say. I like that. I was like, that's kind of interesting, but I don't know if Callum is gonna have anything to do with Erebos. I'm actually really curious how I go into this. I have a video coming out, and it's kind of about how the Dragon Prince ends, and I've always imagined that this is going to come down to, like, Callum v. Erebos, one-on-one, Ozai, Aang, Sozin's Comet type conflict. But now I'm like, is that going to happen? And would that be satisfying? Because as far as characters who have, like, a beef with Erebos, like, dramatically, I think Callum is on, like, the really low end of that. Like, Soren's got more going on. You took my sister away, you manipulated my father. But almost surely it's going to be Callum and Erebos, right?
Yeah, just Callum as a whole. Like, I like Callum, and I like a lot of what they did with him this season. I love everything with Rayla. I love seeing them together. They have a lot of beautiful, lovely romantic moments, and I love the settings, like the just going up into the stars. It's just one of the most beautiful series of scenes in the show. Like, I was just kind of, my mouth was agape for a lot of those scenes. They were just so gorgeous, so beautiful and otherworldly. Like, visually, it really came through for Callum. Like, everything at the Starscraper was gorgeous, but just, I don't know, in terms of morally, emotionally, philosophically, I just keep finding myself much more interested in the other half of the show, the Viren, Claudia, Soren, Erebos side of the show.
Right. I totally agree. I think a lot of us older fans, we tend to gravitate more towards that kind of stuff, because the moral complexities and just the idea of themes like family and redemption, that stands out, I think, to a lot of us older fans, more so than just the adventure or the Batemans are cute type stuff, which isn't a criticism of those aspects of the show. I enjoy those aspects of the show. I think we just kind of like, we tend to go towards the darker stuff. That's where it's at. Oh man, great stuff. So, do you think Claudia is going to end up leaving Terry, or Terry's going to end up leaving Claudia next season? That seems inevitable, right?
I mean, I did for like just walking through season 6. I mean, especially at the start, I thought when they parted ways that that was it, but no, apparently. And I've been thinking that for the last few seasons, like it just always felt like a kind of a ticking time bomb for me. Like, how long are these two going to last? But I don't know. I think that they might just make it. I don't know. Like, I think if they've lasted this long, I'm not really sure if anything is gonna pull them apart and with the final season. I mean, I might be wrong about that, but I feel like if he's stuck with her through all of this, then they're still gonna be together.
Yeah, I hear that. You know what would help us if we understood, like, how on earth their relationship happened. Like, that would probably help us a lot. Like, if we could grasp, like, okay, so this is why Terry looked past the dark magic stuff. He sees this in her because she did this, or something like that. And why Claudia, but even though he's an elf, accepts him. It's like, I'm sure there's a great story there that we'll probably eventually get someday in a graphic novel or something. I wish it would be in the show. Just a conversation, Like, that's all I need.
Yeah, there were a lot about some things that ended up in the show, though. Like, we get the full story about Viren and Soren, and
Yes.
he saved Soren's life with dark magic, but he did a lot of questionable things in order to do that tore apart his family. I mean, it's a story we kind of knew already, since we've got the hints of it throughout the show before this. To actually see it kind of fully fleshed out like that.
Yeah, and it was so what's the word I'm looking for? It was so vindicating to finally have all these different things that had been seeded in the books and in past seasons of the show finally just be confirmed, tied together concisely. It was so cathartic to have it finally put to rest. What was going on? Why did his wife leave him? What happened with his master? All that fun stuff. We loved it.
Yeah, exactly. And it made more sense as they presented it, why his wife left him. Yeah. In a way that I really, didn't necessarily before. I mean, because we thought, like, oh, yeah, he used dark magic, but, so what? Like, that's kind of what he does. But they presented it. That there made it big.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, that episode was incredible. I mean, that's got to be one of the best episodes of the entire series, I feel. Sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I made a video a while back, like a year or so, maybe 2 years ago. So I was just talking about how Viren saved Soren, but before a lot of that was revealed, fully in the show. And now, after the season came out, I looked on my YouTube analytics, and a lot of people were just watching that video.
Wow, this light. I get that. That happens a lot of my theory videos and stuff. People get to it like 3 years later, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm wrong." It's funny though. It's funny. I tried. Okay, I tried. I put my best guess out there. That's what we tried to do. That was great. I remember when you posted that video. Yeah, that was interesting. Was that right after the novel came out? I think, right? Maybe what was that 2021 ish?
It was 21 or 22, I think, but a while back, a while before, in season 5 we get a part of that, we get a part of the truth, and then in season 6 we get the whole thing. But I posted that video before any of that, so just when it was in the books.
Nice, right? I think I remember that. Yeah. It's man. How about Soren getting some cool stuff to do this season?
Yeah.
So I had a video that I was going to release called "Why Soren Should Die." And I think you made one of these before, something along those lines. And I think another YouTuber, maybe Party Pants, said something up the same thing. And basically the idea is that the character doesn't have much left to do. So a good way to raise the stakes in the story would be to, off him. He's one of the main characters, but not one of the core 3. So you need to take it out. But they gave him a little bit to do this season. He got that stuff with his dad. And then next season, it's him kind of coming to terms with what his dad did, so he's got something to go on. So I think I changed my mind. He should live now.
Just that moment when Viren has his long account that we've seen, and and then Soren comes down, and they're kind of facing him on the other side of the bars, and then Viren decides not to give it to him, and then just burns it afterwards.
Right in the heart, yeah. Oh my goodness, that hurt me so deeply. So beautiful, so moving. Such a moving thing to do. I love it.
Yeah. Viren Claudia side of the story is great, but I mean, that's always great. What? I mean, that's like even when the show wasn't perfect. I mean, I never had a problem with that side.